This is Teddy from Centre Excuse. Thanks to Ryan for talking to me about our debut album, Favourite Soul, sort of how we recorded it, the journey of sort of Centre Excuse to get to this point. I met Ryan in 2015 when our bands played a gig together at the Workshop in Old Street, London. That night I got to see what an incredible guitarist he is. Be sure to subscribe to his channel here, where he's got all of his music, his videos, and the rest of his podcasts. I hope you enjoy the chat.
Hey, this is Ryan Webb. Hope you're doing great. So here I have Teddy Lewis from the band Centre Excuse, an electronic rock band. Here I'm just about to talk to Teddy about the new album, Favourite Soul. Teddy is a multi-instrumentalist, a singer, a songwriter, a mix engineer, a producer, and also did the mastering on the new album, which is super, super cool. If you are interested in such videos, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get updates. So before I dive in, let's say, hey, Teddy, thanks for taking the time and having this chat, man. So before we begin, who is Teddy?
Hey, man.
Let's start there.
Thanks for having me, man. Who am I? So, yeah, I play in the band Centre Excuse. We've sort of been doing that for the best part of 10 years in different forms. We started off playing in school battle of the bands, trying to play at our local festival, which was called Rock on the Meds. And we played on the busker stage there, and that was like a first dream sort of achieved. Like, I think that was our first like proper gig was a battle of bands to get to that point. And then it's just been like slowly evolving, for a long time, finding, myself as a person, Alex Rush, who's the other guy in the band. We're best mates that have been doing it the whole time together.
Yeah.
Little phases of, taking a step back, adapting what we wanted to do. I went off we're from Rutland in the East Midlands, which is the smallest county in the UK. It's just cows, fields, pretty little villages, stuff like that. So we were very isolated there. We found it quite difficult, despite quite a good start, to break out of that. News didn't really travel out of those borders. So I moved to London in 2013 to university. I went to the UEL, University of East London. I did music there, I did business and technology, and it was really just a way to get to London, to be able to afford that lifestyle. We're not from wealthy backgrounds, so it was, we kind of had to make our own sort of path to be able to do that. I think, I'm out of London now, but despite distance, me and Alex have always been able to get together, get the band going. And we're at a point now where I think we've laid down a really nice foundation for what we want to do going forward, and that's a nice place to be in. So I think if you're asking, who's Teddy Lewis, then I think where I am right now, how you see me today, is just part of that process, and I think we're getting there.
Yeah, obviously you're enjoying making music, and how long has it been now since you started?
So. Yeah, I mean, starting on the 10 years, but I'd always been writing as a kid.
Okay.
We had one of those Yamaha digital piano sort of things in the house, and sort of mess about on that. And then, I picked up an acoustic guitar and had a few lessons with this young guy at my primary school, sort of near towards the end of that, and just started really playing from that point. But then within a year, I'd gone on to secondary school. I got a teacher that used to just noodle, like when we had lessons and stuff like that. So I stopped going to my lessons. I just bunked them off.
Which we all do. Noodle.
That was it. It was back to me being like, developing on my own and trying to figure it out. And I kind of enjoyed that. And I think it's helped shape the sound that I do now. I've never been as much as I'd love to, like a music theory guy.
Yeah.
I've never really been able to dig deep enough, and when I have, it hasn't come easily for me. So it's always been using different instruments as tools, I think, more to get out the emotion that I'm feeling at the time when I'm writing. So yeah, I've kind of written in the same way for a long time, and I generally write by myself.
Okay.
I kind of isolate myself away, and it's kind of more of a thing of like a feeling,
Yeah.
more than overthinking it in the main.
So here's the question for you: if you saying you're a multi instrumentalist, it's going to be, I'm not sure it's going to be a tough one. What is your favorite instrument?
Well, I gravitate towards guitar,
Okay.
because it's my main instrument. But and I'll write a lot of the riffs for the Centric Skew songs on the guitar. But one of my other big passions has always been synthesizers.
Okay.
Yeah. We really come from we really love sort of like darker electronic bands. We always have. I think when we were growing up, the internet was really becoming like mainstream to the point where everything was there.
Yeah.
And you could really dig deeper than what we had in our parents' CDs collections or something at home.
Yeah. So what would your influences be?
I think, first off the bat, Depeche Mode, definitely.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, really, Martin Gore.
A lot of Depeche Mode on your records, man. It sounds so cool. I don't think I've heard any other new bands come out there and, sound a little bit, it's still not, not obviously it's Depeche Mode, because your voice is so warm and it's just that feeling. It's great.
Yeah. I think as well as us, Dave Garn is the vocalist for Depeche, and he's just got one of the most powerful vocals.
Yeah.
He's got a baritone voice that really, just as soon as you hear it, it's Dave Garn. It's that kind of thing. And I think a lot of those 80s, 90s, sort of when they came up, synth bands, I really think that a lot of the vocalists sang with a lot of warmth and a lot of passion. There was a depth to their voice at the time. So just singing those sort of songs growing up, it just sort of gravitated towards that.
Back then everything was very much real. Nowadays the electronic music is so hyped up. There's so much of synth on the background and correction and all that. You name it, it's all out there. So being a singer, how do you manage to keep yourself healthy? Being a multi-instrumentalist, if you're sitting and writing as well as making music, how does it affect your vocals, or do you have a routine that you follow every day to keep your vocals healthy?
No, I'm really naughty, Ryan. I don't have any processes other than, for a few years I used to have those vocal zone things like before a show. And
yeah.
That was.
Believe it or not, I keep showing this every time, man, because I can't live without these things. These are amazing.
Yeah. It's like the eucalyptus or whatever it is, menthol and stuff. Just like,
yeah.
But I think all I really do is I just sing every day.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm like hardcore rehearsing or anything like that. It's more that I'm just singing songs that I love.
Yeah.
And I just generally sing a lot.
Active, right? Yeah. Well, that is how a professional would kind of approach, on an everyday kind of bass thing. Like if I don't grab my guitar one day, it's like the next day is a struggle, man. It takes an hour for me to like get those riffs back. So yeah, cool. So let's dive right into this new album, man. So is that the debut album that you actually come out with?
Yeah. So this is the debut album. This was the point where we felt we could go it alone. So we're quite fiercely independent.
Yeah.
We've developed a lot of skills outside of just making the music. We kind of had to. I think a lot of musicians these days have had to do that. And I think that's all part of the process of being in a band in 2020.
Yeah.
And from the 2010s as well, I think, which is why we had a lot of struggles. You'd have the music, we'd make our own music videos and we'd be really happy with them, and really like DIY skill sets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the trick was then, like, how do we, people just weren't hearing the music for a long time.
Okay.
To break up the noise of like the budgets that the major labels and the big independents have is just like, it's not gonna, you've got to be one of those acts that has like a viral moment, I think, or something that really kicks them off in that way.
Okay.
So you know, it's developing everything else around that and realizing, you know, how best to put ourselves across, I think, as artists.
Yeah.
Where the people could be that would be interested in our music. Because, you know, there's 7 billion plus people out there.
Exactly. I know exactly what you mean, man.
Don't get me wrong. Not all of them are going to like Center Excuse. You know, a very small portion are probably going to like Center Excuse. But the potential, we know it's there. You know, there's so many people out there, and we know people that love the music. And so it's, it's a lot of work, but at the same time, it's quite rewarding, I think.
So, Favorite Soul, what a cool title. Was that all you?
Yeah. So the Favorite Soul came from, we have a song called Favorite Soul.
Yeah.
Which is really our sort of fan favorite and probably our most sort of listened to song at this point.
Okay.
We released it a couple of years ago, like an earlier mix. But where it really came from was when I was in university. I'm quite a family man in the sense that I really missed being at home.
Yeah.
You know, I found it quite difficult. And being in the concrete jungle that was kind of London compared to what I was used to with the kind of beauty of the greenery, and not to say that London can't be beautiful, but for me, my perspective, and I was just going through quite a deep depression at the time, and university comes with its own struggles, as students will know, and, you know, working jobs on the side of that to make enough money to keep going there. And I was struggling in my head to figure out, you know, I want to be a musician.
Yeah.
I want to keep making music. It's so hard. I can't afford to live very well. I'm doing all of these other things just so that I can make music, and, you know, and it was such a struggle, and I was really wrestling in my head to the point that I came back home to the little village of Empingham in Rutland, and I was in my childhood bedroom, and I picked up a bass guitar.
Okay, cool.
I'll show it in a bit. I brought it here. You can have a little look. It's my baby. Because it's signed by Blink-182.
Whoa, that is super cool, man.
Gifted from Mark Hoppus.
Yeah, cool.
Indirectly. So anyway, I picked this bass up, and I kind of had a couple of candles lit in the room, and I was in a bit of a state. And again, you're just going a million miles an hour in your mind. And I just played this riff. It's do 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 do, and it was how I usually write songs, but it felt even better. It just flowed. It just came out, and it exemplified how I felt. And the lyrics, I haven't had this many times. It just came within about 45 minutes.
Perfect.
I was kind of playing this riff, playing the different parts that would come, the pre-chorus, the chorus, bridges, and, you know, the vocals were coming, the words were coming, and Favorite Soul was really like the first thing. You know, is the first thing. And the reason for Favorite Soul is that I almost felt like there were two parts of me.
Yeah.
There was like the side that was trying to figure out life with all the external influences and pressures and media and telling you how life should be and what you should do at that point in your life as like an early 20-year-old. And the other side of me was the bit that I loved and that I'd always worked on, and that it always has sort of naturally been what I love doing, and that was making music. It was the creative side of me. And so that was my Favorite Soul. You know, that my Favorite Soul was the creative part of me, that song, the creative soul that lived within me. And so the album kind of was all written a lot around that feeling of just like being lost, but knowing what you want, and just scraping so hard to try stay doing what you want to do. So it felt right. The song had done well for us. It'd been our best performing song yet. And Favorite Soul, we were like, Alex agreed. We were like, that's how the album should be called.
Yeah. So where can you get the album right now? Is it on iTunes and stuff like that?
So at the moment, because of the whole COVID situation that we're living through, it's we would distribute ourselves and stuff like that. And we're doing all the postage. So we haven't got physical versions yet.
Okay.
So that's going to come later down the line. We're thinking probably sort of October.
Okay. So is it released through a record label, or is it all independent? It's just you guys doing your own thing?
So we have a record label with some friends, and it's called New Motion Records. And so we've always put our music out under that name, under that label. And it's, it's a proper limited company and all of that fun.
Yeah. So do you have any other bands that is under that record label, or is it just you guys?
We've put, what we've done is for like Center Excuse, for little side projects that we've had, like I do an electronic thing called Intendo.
Okay.
Alex has a thing called Inrush. He does some remixes for Center Excuse with. So we always put it out through that. And we've done a couple of other releases of just friends' bands. I think one band was someone we met through gigging like early in the day. But, I think New Motion Records on that side, in terms of me contributing more, is something further down the line. I think when we have the resources to really help other musicians that we're into. And it's like self-released, self-distributed and stuff like that.
So what does Alex Rush bring into Center Excuse? Is he same like you, a multi-instrumentalist, or he's got his own thing going on?
Yeah, so Alex, when I first started learning guitar, Alex started learning drums.
Cool.
So, the other side of our tastes was a lot of the sort of pop punk, alternative rock, metal that was around from like the early 90s up to sort of mid 2000s was really what we were kind of into. Blink-182, Smashing Pumpkins,
super.
41, Foo Fighters, Nirvana, all of those sort of guys. So he started playing drums, and he was really good. He just took to it really, really naturally, and he hits hard. He's almost got like I'm not going to compare him, but he's got
kind of dude. In your face.
Yeah, and it's so funny because Alex was like quite small for a kid for his age. Now he's a tower of a man. I don't know how tall. He's like 6'2" or something. And, I was one of the taller kids, and then I'm 5'8", and he just sprouted up.
Yeah.
So he was this little guy just absolutely rocking the drums. And, we started gigging from like 15, quite religiously. And what we found was when I went to London, we took some time out, sort of changed, what we were doing a bit, quite naturally, but it just how it happened with the transition and everything. We realized that so much of the complexity of our sound with the multiple layers of synthesizers, we're wanting to hear the guitar parts, more intricate guitar parts, and trying to get my vocal not to be drowned out.
Yeah.
We were playing small venues, like quite often like 70, 100 cap venues.
Yeah. Was it around London or around the UK?
That was around the UK, mainly around the Midlands a lot of the time.
Okay.
Like I said, it was quite hard to get your name outside of Rutland, but we'd play Leicester a lot, like the Shed, places like that. We played Peterborough, which had like Club Revolution, which is gone, sadly.
Yeah.
The Met Lounge, places like that. District 7 was another really good one. So we played a lot of those venues, and it was just, the cymbals especially would just drown out the sound.
Yeah.
Especially when everything else is kind of like mic'd up or driven through the PA.
Yeah.
And then you've got the drums, which quite often, because it's a small room, they don't want to mic it up either. So you've got this really like uncompressed drum sound with this like studio, kind of.
Yeah, the crash in your face.
Yeah, exactly. And and you can tell that the audience were just like not enjoying it because they'd have to crank it up so loud sometimes in some of the really small venues.
Yeah.
We were like, you know what? So much, we layered drum machines anyway.
Okay.
We really love that really hard hitting electronic drum sound as well. And we kind of blend that a lot with acoustic drums. And we were like, nah, let's just have drum machines.
Yeah.
And Alex played keyboards as well.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'll play synths live. Let's do that. And it's been a lot better actually since we did that. A lot better. Yeah. It's the sound live is much better.
So it's you and Alex. Could I say that you and Alex actually wrote the whole album? The new album?
So generally how it's worked on this album, because I was writing a lot by myself over the last, I mean, it's probably like a 6-year period.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs have just come from me writing at home and producing at home. But the way it always works is that as soon as I've got a pretty good demo going, I'll send it over to Alex and I'll be like, what do you think of this? And if Alex really didn't like something, then we would know that there's an issue, because he knows what Centric Excuse is supposed to sound like, and what we do.
Yeah.
And, so he'll give me a lot of feedback, and some of the songs on the album, as I said, percussion is really his strength. So he sort of redid some of the drum parts, did some extra programming on the album as well. So just, which is really good, because it can make some parts of songs way more exciting than maybe I had them. Yeah. In that way.
Cool. So what choice of DAW are you using? You and Alex, I'm guessing, use the same DAW?
We do. So we've always been, when we started, we were playing around with like Magic's Music Maker and like Acid.
Cool. That old thing, man.
The old school, like
that old thing. Oh man.
Yeah, like Windows XP, Windows 98 discs and stuff. And but then in secondary school, we picked up Ableton Live.
Yeah.
Like their light versions.
Yeah.
And we started doing some like experimental performance things at school at different like concerts and stuff. And we kind of stuck with Ableton. It made sense for us. We learnt it inside out. So the album was done on Ableton. I've spent some time before in Pro Tools, liked it, but at the time when I was using it, it was about 5 years ago, it wasn't as creative as Ableton still. So I found it a lot harder. So I do a lot of MIDI work, a lot of like plug-in synthesizer work as well as hardware. Ableton was still more flexible. So the whole album was done on Ableton. The mix was done on Ableton. Obviously we tracked in Ableton, and then I mastered in Ableton as well. Cool. But controversially, I've just moved over to PreSonus StudioOne.
Good for you.
As the album's completed, I've listened to that, and oh man, I can't believe it's a thing.
It'll be interesting to know later on how you get along with PreSonus StudioOne, because I tried it, and I've got mixed judgments, with that. And I actually thought I'll try all the new DAWs. I just for the heck of it. So I got StudioOne, I got Cubase 10.5, and always had the Pro Tools. Pro Tools has always been my thing for past 10 years or whatever. But it'll be interesting to know what you think about StudioOne, because they've released a new version now. It's 5, isn't it?
StudioOne 5 now.
Yeah, and that's what you're using right now.
That's what I'm using right now. I'm writing new music in StudioOne 5, and it's made it really exciting for me again.
Yeah.
Like to just open the door, start writing, mixing. It's just so fast, and it feels almost geared towards the sort of music that we make.
Yeah.
In that it's like a nice blend of the MIDI capabilities of Ableton and live capabilities, as well as the sort of more structured flow of, say, Pro Tools or Cubase.
Yeah.
It feels like a really nice middle ground it's just, been really nice. So I'll let you know. What do you use, Ryan?
I like the writing process on it. You got the scratch pad, and the way you can just take a chunk like the chorus over there, and it's just, the whole thing just moves around.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a different kind of concept when I was using 4.5, I think. And I started with 4 and then went on to 4.5. I left it for a bit, went back on. And it's different things were happening for me. So MIDI was not a main concern for me. But for me, it was a lot of third-party plugins issues. So my U80 plugins, certain ones were not kind of working very well with it and stuff like that. But anyhow, I think since 5 has come out, maybe the third-party plugins have actually got more support now. But anyhow, that's another day. I'll pick your brain on that some other time. So
what do you use, Ryan?
I'm using the up-to-date Pro Tools. I tried. I'm working on Luna right now on a remix thing. So I haven't. Literally, I'm just putting up a lot of stems and seeing what the workflow is, or if there's any kind of quality difference because it's integrated with your hardware. It's literally a couple of days ago. I'm just seeing what happens, seeing if it can take the load of the same plugins that I would use in Pro Tools and stuff like that. So it's still early days for me to say anything, to be honest. Have you tried it though?
Yeah, so that's a big part of the whole debate, isn't it? It's the performance. You don't want your computer crippling. Is that I tried Luna the day it came out because there was so much hype around it.
Yeah.
I'd only just got a universal audio interface. I got the Twin X Duo.
Okay.
So I picked it up straight away. But for me, it felt closer to a sort of traditional desk setup like Pro Tools.
Yeah. Pretty much like a multi-track tape machine. Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Quite focused on the sort of analog world, isn't it? Yeah. But it just, I might try it again at some point in the future, but it just wasn't fluid enough for me for what I do at the moment. Yeah. It was actually interesting because I tried that and that made me think like, this is actually it was really high quality, it was really good stuff. I should check what else is out there now. Yeah. And that's what got me on the journey. It got me to StudioOne.
So I can see a guitar in the background there, and a keyboard somewhere, a synthesizer hidden somewhere on the couch. So is that your studio? Is that where you record and produce and mix all your stuff? And all
this is the studio
down there. This is going to be a really interesting one.
Yeah, this is my studio, and it's the best studio I've ever had. Because
hell, man.
Because usually I've during the course of the album, some of the stuff on it is tracked. I was living in a tiny little bedroom in northwest London, and I was living in a house with another 8 people. It was like a 4-bed house with like 8 people. It was dodgy as hell, and but it was really like cramped, small space. And then it was a real struggle to record my amp at that point. I didn't even have my amp with me. I have a Marshall JCM 2000 Super Lead head, which I run through a 1936 Marshall 2x12 cab. Yeah. And that was at Alex's for a long time. And then we moved to a small studio apartment in northwest London. Again, no amp. It was just a tiny bit bigger and had its own, bathroom and little kitchen area. And a lot of the album, we worked it out. I really remember definitively as being sort of made from that transition between those two spaces, and Let It Ride and stuff like that. And then we came here a couple of years ago, which I'm in Berkshire now, which is just outside London. And I finally have a space big enough that, it's not a big flat by any means. It's like this and a bedroom and a bathroom, but I have a TV on top of my cab. So my cab is my TV stand.
Cool.
So, and next to it, I don't know if you see the little Marshall blurred logo there. So that's the JCM 2000. And then it's all hooked up still. It's just not the traditional, head on top of the cab deal.
Man.
So I can literally just sit down on the couch, plug the jag stang in and just riff.
So if you go onto these online, digital stores, Apple Music, and check out the album, Center Excuse Favorite Soul, and you can hear the actual quality of the recording. It's all done in this little space here, as you can see, mixed, mastered, produced, and recorded. So you don't need these massive studios or, a well-treated room and stuff like that. Teddy's got a little trick up his sleeve what he uses for, so-called reflections and all that stuff people say. But basically, it's all about your ears, and, you trust your ears. If you trust your speakers, you know what you're hearing. Just educate your ears and stuff like that. And Teddy, what is the trick, man?
So the trick is, it's a very like tall roof, reflective space. It's rented, so I'm not going to be putting up any nice fancy isolation and pads and bass traps and stuff. So what I've done is, before I started mixing the album, I picked up this little baby, which is called Sonarworks Reference 4. I mean, you probably can't. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I think the light's going. And so what it does is this little reference mic that you play against your monitors, and you do like a 10-minute test, and it picks up the reflections in your room, and it puts an overall multi-band EQ over your system. Yeah. So straight over I'm running Mac, so it runs straight over the Mac. And the difference is insane. Yeah. Like it's amazing, because when I started mixing the album, I had access to a very nice studio in West London, and I was, I work a job. So what I was doing, I was just going and mixing on the weekends. Yeah. And it'd be 3 hours of traveling each day. So if I went in on a Saturday and a Sunday, by the time I've got there, I've got maybe 8 hours. I'm traveling back at say like 11 p.m. or something. And by the time it's the next week and I can go back into the studio, I'm not really used to that room. Yeah. It's a beautiful setup, beautiful monitors. If you're not used to the room, I don't think, you need time with it. Yeah. At least I do. I'm sure there's people out there that don't. I do. And it was and I left that, and I was like, you know what? I need to invest. I'd saved up my pennies, and I bought some nice new Adam A7X monitors. Yeah. And I bought this reference system.
So what made you choose? Sorry to interrupt you, man. So what made you choose Sonarworks? Because there are quite maybe 4 or 5, maybe more brands out there. There's Genlex, and I think KRK has got something going on, and IK Multimedia probably. Not sure. So why Sonarworks?
I don't know why. I think it was the first one that I kind of read about, and I trusted what I was reading in reviews and sort of videos and stuff like that. And it just, I don't know. I don't even really remember the competition. So I just
the myth about saying if you mix your own stuff, you shouldn't master your own stuff kind of thing. So what's your thoughts on that? Because you master the whole album, and, you mixed, produced the whole album as well. So how do you kind of separate the whole thing? Do you kind of leave it for a bit and you come back on a day and then you say, I'm going to master these 9 tracks? Or is it 9 tracks on the album? Sorry, I don't think I've got that.
Well, I think there's like there's 14 tracks.
Whoa, gotta be off.
Yeah, that's all right.
My homework, man.
There's like a couple of interlude bits and stuff.
Yeah, all right.
Tracks. So what was the question?
That's a good one. So it's regarding the mastering. How, when the myth of, if you mix your own records, you shouldn't master it. But I know quite a few guys who actually do it and get away with it. And personally, I just don't want to do it. I just like a different set of ears to kind of change the mood. But if you find the right mastering guy, he can just not change the mix. That's the important thing. If you change the mix, then I'm not gonna like the the master, no matter who you are. So how do you actually kind of separate the whole thing from mixing to mastering and do that final judgment that this is it?
A lot of going back and doing it again, a lot of trial and error. I'd say it's a lot of trial and error, but it's something I've been doing in the same way with the same software for quite a few years. So it's kind of been, I'm better at it now than I used to be. Yeah. But I just use it like an overall package, which is Isotope Ozone. Yeah. So I use that. But I'm just used to the room and I know how I want it to sound because I've had our stuff mastered externally before. And the last tracks were actually mastered by someone who's done some Shikari albums.
Okay, cool.
That we really love. We love Shikari. And it was really, it was really good, you know, but I think it doesn't ever seem to change so drastically that I can't just try. You know, I think it's trying, because I think if you try it, and you know, I reference for a lot of different types of output. So obviously the monitors, I've got some sort of crappy speakers. I've got little old Apple headphones and nice Bluetooth ones, stuff like that. So I trial and error, and I do a lot of referencing. I think the key is just referencing against tracks that I like the mastering on. Yeah, you know, and I'm always kind of mixing in the same vein as well, so everything's kind of equal across the board. Yeah, but yeah, just take some trial and error, man.
Yeah. So do you master as you're mixing, kind of like in the back of your mind, you think, okay, this is the kind of final thing that I want to happen, you know? So do you put something on your master bus while you're mixing?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really have like a general rule for that. I think sometimes if I'm working on a mix and you can tell it needs a bit of gluing, or if it's quite early on and I want to hear how it might sound once it's more compressed and once it's beefed up a bit, then I will.
Yeah.
But I try not to.
Okay.
I try to leave it alone.
Yeah. But do you just mix and master just for Center Excuse, or do you take on other projects? No.
No. I'm not.
Take the projects.
No, I think if someone really came to me, and you know, and wanted something similar to what I've done, or I mean, do you know what? I think I probably could, but I would definitely be doing an injustice to all the mastering engineers out there with incredible setups, incredible skill sets who need pre-built packages and stuff like that, who, you know, they'll have hardware racks and they know exactly what they're doing with compression. And
there are only very few of those out there actually have those hardware setup, you know. It's just not everyone has actually got that. Some of the really, you know, big names out there are still doing it in the box, believe it or not, you know.
Yeah, sure. I think I was just trying to give an example of how different that is. But yeah, definitely, like, people, you know, can do insane things in the box. I work almost entirely in the box and everything I do. So, you know, I think the only bit of outboard gear I have is I have a Golden Age rabbit.
Is it one of those red thingies?
Yeah, Golden Age 73.
Cool.
Now, this thing, I'm sure they're really good. But one time at university, I was recording a friend who was playing like, I think it's called like a karimba or something. Yeah. Like a really cute little metal wood instrument. And this thing just started smoking out of the jack. It was the craziest thing. And I literally had to sprint with it, not knowing if it was going to heat up, to the kitchen and just put it in the sink just in case. I didn't put water in it, you know, just so it was out of the way.
That's the real thing, man. Those are the real preamps. Need to catch, set it on fire.
That's it.
That's so cool. So what gear do you use on the album? You know, gear wise, is it mostly the stuff that you have around you, or do you does Alex use some of his gear on the album, or is it, you know, how did the whole process just work? Did you say, okay, I'm going to use this guitar and that's it?
Generally, I don't have a lot of gear, and I think it's good in one way because it keeps me quite focused on what I'm doing. I have, you know, with me here, I have two guitars, but here I just have the one, which is the one you can see there, which is a Fender Jagstang, which was the Kurt Cobain model that he designed between a Mustang and a Jaguar. Yeah, and that was the part that I was just like, I need, like, the first time I saw it, I was a young kid and I was like, I want that guitar. I want to play that guitar. They haven't made them since, I think, like 2004. Yeah. But I picked up a 2002 model for quite a good price on eBay in like 2014. It's been with me as my main driver ever since. All guitar, is on that.
Okay.
Then there's bass. You might not hear it on every song, but I do track bass guitar on every song. So this is the Mark Hop signature jazz bass.
Yeah. Cool.
And you've got that's Mark Hoppus, Tom DeLonge, Travis Barker on the bottom, and they were instrumental to me and Alex starting a band, starting to learn guitar and drums and everything. Like really instrumental, and we got that through the Battle of the Bands that Parliament put on, where you represent your county.
Yeah,
that's probably a story for another time, but it's really cool. He gifted it to this Battle of the Bands anyway, and they knew we were fans. We didn't even win it. We came like the top 4, and they gave it to us. We couldn't believe it. So that's tracked on everything. The MS-2000, which is the one you can see there.
Cool.
We really love Korg synthesizers. We've always used Korg, and MS-2000's been like my main driver.
Yeah.
And it's just a really aggressive synth.
Yeah.
It's really versatile, but a lot of the sounds we like to use have like an aggressive edge to them, and some really deep basses, something that can scream, I think, rather than...
Exactly. So do you use any synths that's on, say, in the box? Do you any synthesizer?
Yeah. Most, I think that creates a core, but I use, so many. I've accumulated so many over the years, just different random free ones. I've got some that I have bought, and it's quite a range. I think alongside that, the other main ones we probably use are the classics, or like CS80, Prophet, 5, and what else? Yeah, I'd say those are probably like the main 2.
Cool.
And then the CS80's got such a dark pad sound, so a lot of the darker pads like come from that. So a lot of it's done in the box, and just like the way that all of this was tracked.
Yeah.
Was I've got I don't know if I can pick it up. I probably can. So this is what I recorded the album on, and it's nothing but
that old thing, man.
Right, this is like an 80 quid Behringer UMC 404 HD. So I went through, like I said, never having much money, so I always got the cheapest sort of interfaces I could get. I went through so many that just burnt up within like 6 months or a year, and that's been really good. Problem is, it's very dull. The converters are really dull. It doesn't capture a lot of the intricacy details. And so I've since upgraded, coincidentally, after the album, to Universal Audio.
A little bit much easier, I would say. Upgrading. That's the old. I think it's about taking. It's not that some of the gear doesn't sound good. It's just it takes up more time, and then you lose that creative process. And it's kind of like one of those things that you juggle around. You have new. It's not necessarily new, but a quality interface that does the job, and you can trust it, and it just works and speed things up. So what is your vocal chain like? What was your vocal chain like for the album? Was it actually done directly with the Behringer, or is it another preamp you used?
No. Sometimes I was using the Golden Age, the red box that I showed. Most of the time I was just going directly into the Behringer. Yeah. But the problem is with the Behringer, I have to compensate for it.
Yeah.
I have to compensate with it in post and in the mix. And that means bringing up a lot of the high end sort of 16K, 10K, 7K sort of level frequencies.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's like what you said. It's having quality converters, which I'm now with the new music I'm making, Centric Excuses. It just makes it so much easier. So the vocal chain was I use a lot of the Waves plugins.
Okay.
And sort of the main ones for like the Butch Vig vocal, so like the producer, garbage drummer and producer, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, stuff like that, with maybe like another kind of vocal plugin, bass plugin like that. Mm-hmm. Then a separate EQ, separate de-esser, usually native Ableton ones.
Yeah, cool.
yeah, it's quite a long chain. There's like 7 or 8 in what I'm doing, but at least you know you've got it, and that's kind of the sound that you're hearing on the album.
So cool. So the mics, what mics did you use for the album?
So got a C414 AKG. That's
pretty much
I've had
standard, isn't it? Kind of the standard, one of the standard ones, I think, nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely really popular, and it's just it's so versatile.
Yeah, works on pretty much anything, to be honest.
You know, I record all the vocals on it. I record the Marshall cab on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really versatile. It's high quality. It gives me the neutral signal that I need. I might use. I've got some like really quirky sort of condenser mics and stuff like that, and dynamic mics that I kind of popped over the cab as well. But in the main, I don't faff around too much, because especially if I'm doing guitar, I'll use this, and then I'll layer by. I've got a Boss ME80 like multi-pedal.
Another old thing. Cool.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see those knobs and switches nowadays on these new, pedal boards. You know, I've got the Helix and XFX and all that, but it's all just switches. You know, it's good to have like little knobs to twiddle around with, but I think it probably distracts you. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know now. You know?
Yeah. The reason I got that as opposed to like traditional pedal setups is because I got it especially for live, really, and I'm very active live. I just feel the music and I dance a lot, and I didn't want to be playing around with the pedals, so I build my presets long before, you know. So I've got like my kind of what is now like the CE distortion, chorus, flanger, and everything's on there built up, so I can just go bang bang, nice and easy. Cool. So I track a lot through that directly as well, and then into like an amp sim.
Yeah.
You know, as well as that. And then I'll even just go straight into the Behringer from the Jagstang, straight from the Fender, and then use the amp sims on there as well, like some nice presets I've built up over the years.
So Alex does all the drum parts. You do kind of do the basic and send it over to him, and he just takes over from there, I'm guessing.
No, so on this album, I've generally programmed most of it and mixed it. But what would happen is, especially what we do is we blend a lot of the acoustic drums with all the drum machines, like programming. So he'll find ways to make the drums sound more authentic.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Cool.
He brings like a really good, I'm quite like a thumping like drum machine kind of guy. But we love drummers like Travis Barker and Dave Grohl and Joey Jordison and crazy drummers like that. So we like to put that back in there, and Alex really helps to bring a lot of those parts back into a bit more complex, a bit more diverse.
Get a bit of groove going on, right? Rather than a machine feel. Yeah, it sounds really great. The album actually sounds really. I heard a couple of tracks on it, so it sounds really, really killer. So you want to give a shout out to your fans, your followers, and stuff like that. Mention where you can get the album from and what's happening right now, kind of thing. So back to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been interesting because since we started the album campaign, it started to feel even more like a kind of a family, like a real community is kind of building with the fans. And we're really lucky because although, we're UK based, we're not a huge band by any means, but so many people from so many different countries all over the world really make up the fabric of our fan base. And so I think when you get to a point where you have people start making, videos and Instagram stories and artworks and things like that.
Yeah.
It's on like a different plane because we see them feeling the music the same way that we do. And it's been so, we've tried so many different things, so many different times that it's just like, wow, people are getting it.
Yeah.
And it's helping them, they're sending us messages, about how it's been a part of their life. Obviously the album's on the newer spectrum of that, but, the sort of singles that we've been putting out over the years and EPs. And So it's been really nice, and hopefully that just continues. You know, nothing's ever for certain, and we know that probably better than a lot of people. But it feels like we're in a really good place. Yeah. And you know, the album, you can get Favorite Soul out in all your good streaming services, iTunes. You know, if you want to give it an iTunes download, that'd be very much appreciated. You know, and obviously the physical one will be coming very soon, which will be very exciting as well.
Yeah, I'll get the first one, man.
Yeah, I'll ship it out to you straight away.
So that was great. So so thanks for watching, you guys. So that was Teddy Lewis, the man himself from Center Excuse, the electronic rock band. And hope you enjoyed this one. So please subscribe and hit the notification bell. And thanks, man. Thanks for taking the time again. I do appreciate it. So take care,
man, for having me. Good to see you as well.
Take care, man.
Ryan have actually played a show together, and Ryan is one of the most incredible guitarists. Can we just add that before we go? Ryan is one of the most incredible guitarists I've ever seen, and especially ever seen live. I think you played the guitar with your teeth at one point. I'm not even joking.
That is the most funniest thing anyone can do. I think anyone that doesn't even know how to play the guitar can do that.
I can't do that.
Oh, no. You're too kind, man. But anyhow, thanks for taking the time, and I'll chat to you soon, man. Take care.
Yeah, catch you soon, man.